Hey guys, Reginald Duck here, back today with another deck profile. So I've got my updated Witchcrafter list, including the two new cards that came out in Magnificent Mavens. I think it really gives the deck the boost it needs, and also I've got the new sleeves, both types. So funny story about this, a guy at my locals shouts, "Danny," and I go, "Yeah," and he throws 5 packs of Witchcrafter sleeves at me, right in the face. But anyway, let's get into it. So for the main deck, got 3 copies of Witchcrafter Schmetter. I believe this is the best one. Basically can foolish any Witchcrafter card from graveyard, and they all have the same effect, where quick effects you can tribute them and discard a spell to summon a Witchcrafter from deck. So the summon from deck is the same on all of the level 4 or lowers. The banish effect from grave is this one's unique effect, so it can foolish any Witchcrafter card, so you can send like Jenny if you needed to be able to copy a spell effect. You can send Creation if you want to be able to add it back in the end phase, so really good. 3 copies of Jenny. If you're really bad like me, you just never draw the fusion spell, you can always send it to graveyard and then just like copy its effect with this. It is a bit neg, but I mean you need to summon the fusion because it's the best card in the deck. So 3 copies of Jenny. 2 copies of Witchcrafter Vice Madame. This card is still quite good. Same summon from deck effect. This one you can banish it, discard a card, then draw a card, then discard a Witchcrafter, if not banish your hand. But you can use this in conjunction with the fusion spell. You activate this, chain the fusion to add back a Witchcrafter spell, and then this will guarantee not banish your hand. 1 copy of Pottery. I just feel you need it at 1. You tend to use it if you draw a hand with relatively low amounts of Witchcrafter spells, because you do want to have fuel for all you guys. So this one, you banish it, it adds back a Witchcrafter spell or trap, but you need to have no cards in hand to be able to activate that effect. So if you burn your entire hand turn 1, you want to be able to use this to get more resources back. For the 2 big bosses, you've got Madame Vere. She is a quick effect to discard a spell, negate all your opponent's monsters that currently control their face up, and then in the damage step she can reveal any number of Witchcrafter spells, boost your guy by that many times 1,000. So she's really good. And then 1 Witchcrafter Hane, quick effect, discard a card, destroy a card on the field. So target and destroy your opponent's face up card, but it's still really good. Especially in conjunction with the new fusion, you can, by activating this, you can then chain the fusion to destroy again. So really cool. For the 1-ofs, we play the 1 Golden Lad. Still really good in the deck. I've cut all the traps out from this build, all the alternate traps anyway, but I'm playing the 1 Golden Lad. You can send it off branded fusion, you can just like recur it constantly. It's really good. Got 1 copy of Magician's Souls. I feel this card is absolutely insane in this deck because they all come back in the end phase if they've not been used. So obviously this just gets them engraved, you draw 2, then they come straight back. Also it's a spellcaster, so you can fuse it into the big fusion. Obviously you have to play the 1 Illusion of Chaos with that. I say obviously you could just like send one of your boss monsters, but I'd rather keep them in deck, so 1 Illusion. For the DP package, we're playing 1 of each, just the 2 best Fusion Destiny targets. So just lets you draw 2 the turn after, giving you a great grind game, and you can unbrick your hand if you draw a monster. 1 Fallen of Albaz for the branded fusion, and that is it for our monster count. So I feel this is really good at 1. I'd consider playing 2, but I do only have the 1 because my other one's in the post, but oh well. And then onto the spells, got 3 copies of Witchcrafter Creation. This card is really cool, it lets you add any Witchcrafter monster, and then if you don't use that effect, then it can add itself back from grave to hand as long as you control a Witchcrafter monster. So really cool, it's one of the better ones. 3 Witchcrafter Confusion Confession. It does have fusion in the title in case once it ever comes back, Anaconda, not that it ever will, but it's just a pretty standard fusion spell that can fuse from hand and or field. But the interesting thing is, because it's a Witchcrafter card, you can banish it with Jenny to copy its effect. 2 copies of Witchcrafter Holiday. This one just reborns any Witchcrafter, so it can even bring back your fusion as long as you properly fusion summoned it, which you do in this deck. So 2 copies. Again, All of these add back in the end phase as long as you control a Witchcrafter monster. Then for the one of Witchcrafter cards, one Buy Street. This one's slightly different. Instead of coming back to hand in the end phase, it just activates itself, like places itself in a zone, and then prevents destruction of your Witchcrafters the first time each turn. One copy of Unveiling. It summons a guy from hand, and then for the rest of the turn they can't respond to your Witchcrafter monsters. It's okay. Then you've got lastly one Draping. It bounces a back row. Generally you just need more Witchcrafter names, but it is still good to have. Only looking out Mystic Mine until the 1st of December, but there you go. 3 copies of Branded Fusion. This is additional copies of your fusion spell because the Lubellion can fuse to summon the Vice Madame. But if you can already access it, then you can always save this and just like send, for example, Golden Lord and Albaz, and then just make a Mirror Jade. You're obviously using the Albion and everything, but really, really cool. I do really like this at 3. I don't really have much to say, it just adds a lot of consistency to the deck, I feel. 3 copies of Fusion Destiny. I feel Branded Fusion adds consistency, Fusion Destiny adds power. This really gives you like a strong grind game, which this deck is already good at anyway, because it sort of grinds forever essentially. But with DPE, as long as they don't just like steal it with Dark, which is really annoying if they do, but you can always save your negate for the Dark. But 3 of this just means you can also get access to your draw 2 in the next turn as well, so it's really, really strong. 2 Foolish Goods. I just want to be able to get spells engraved, so if you struggle getting access to your Witchcrafter spells like I sometimes do, I'd like this because it also triggers your fusion monster effect, so it's actually really good because then they'll obviously come back in the end phase. Putting the 1 Preparation of Rites, just searches the Illusion of Chaos and is an extra spell engrave for like Selene for example, or you can just discard it off any Witchcrafter or off the Magician Souls. It's really cool. 1 Instant Fusion. If you can, you want to try and put a Millennium Eyes up before you do anything, because this deck hard loses to Ash, because you can make your normal summon, you tribute off the card you've just normal summoned, and you discard all for cost. So if they just got Ash, you just got -2 unless you normal summon. So 1 Instant Fusion, you really do not want to get Ashed. 1 Called By, because Ash is unbelievably good against this deck. And then lastly, got the 1 copy of Witchcrafter Patronus. This card's really cool. You can do some cheesy plays like Spell Chronicle, I think it's called, but I don't play that anymore. But basically, you activate it, you can return a banished or graveyard Witchcrafter monster to the deck to search a Witchcrafter spell. So I think that's really insane, because obviously you can do that in either player's turn, and then when it's in the graveyard you can banish it to add every banished Witchcrafter spell to your hand, basically. So I think that's really cool. So that's it for the main deck. And onto the extra deck. Got 3 copies of Witchcrafter Vice Madame. When I first read this card, I was really disappointed, thought it was rubbish, and then I realised that you can use each effect once per turn, and that it's a quick effect, and also that the destruction doesn't target. So it turns out I'm terrible at reading cards. This card is actually insane. Thank you to my mate Selwood for giving me a 3rd one, even though he did pull it and it was already damaged, but I don't blame him too much. So 3 copies. You can probably get away with 2, but I mean, it's such a cheap card anyway, there's not that much else to put in the extra. I think I'd rather have a 3rd just in case. So basically, when you activate a spellcaster monster that isn't a fusion, so it can't trigger itself, spellcaster monster or a spell is activated, that's either player, and you can chain this card to it, so like Thunder Dragon Titan. So you'd activate, say, Shmeta, tribute itself, chain this to either summon from deck a Witchcrafter monster that's level 4 or lower, I think it is. You can add a spell or trap Witchcrafter from grave to hand, or you can destroy a card on the field without targeting. So you can use all 3 of those in a turn. Generally, if you're going first, you only really want to use the add back and the summon from deck, but then later on obviously you will be getting those non-target destructions, so that's really, really cool. If they do manage to out it, you can always bring it back with Holiday. If they can't out it, then you just get so much advantage off this card. It's a +3 every turn, so absolutely insane. I don't know why I thought this card was bad. Got the small brandage package, 1 Albion, 1 Lubellion and 1 Mirajade. Generally you don't really summon this that often because you'd rather fuse for the Vice Madame, but if you can already access that, then you would want to be able to end on a Mirajade as well, because it's just a non-targeting banish, so really cool. Got 1 copy of DPE. I think it adds a lot of power to the deck. It is a shame about the interaction with Dark, but I mean, it's just one of those. But I feel it's still really good to play because you can also get like the draw 2 as well, which makes it worth it anyway. Just recurs itself instantly, like every turn, not instantly, but every turn. Make sure when you use its effect and destroy it, you activate it in the grave straight away, not in the standby phase. 1 copy of Millennium Eyes. I just hate getting ashed. This could probably be something else, but we are playing the Relinquished Anima, so you can always like link with it after and steal another card, or you could just fuse with it being a spellcaster, so I feel it's not terrible. So 1 copy. Can also play around every other hand trap except Gamma, Imperm and Nibiru, I believe, or at least they're the main ones that it can't play around. 1 Artemis. I'm not sure if I should play 2. This card is really good. Remember, you can link summon the turn use branded fusion, but generally it can get you like an extra spellcaster to fuse with. And also, if you need any of your Witchcrafters in grave but you don't have any spells to activate, you can just normal summon it and link it off. This can link off any level 4 or lower, so you can get Shmeta to grave without having a spell, for example, which is really important. 1 Relinquished Anima. Jenny's level 1, or you could use the Millennium Eyes. It comes up occasionally. It's also a spellcaster, so you don't feel like you've wasted something by going into it as long as you still have a Witchcrafter name. Link Karibo, it's just a 1. I'll summon it occasionally. 1 Nightmare Phoenix. Thank you to Luke for giving this to me. He said, oh, just have it. Okay, thank you so much, appreciate that. But really great sort of link to just discards any spells you want to get back in the end phase anyway. 1 Unicorn. Just again really good. It's a nice easy way to climb into access code, or you can just use Celine, which I didn't want to buy because I was like 11 quid for the reprint, that's ridiculous, and I had to buy a pack so I could go into my locals because you can't just walk downstairs, which I think is fair, and I buy a pack of the latest set and I pull it, so I was dead happy. But 1 Celine basically requires a spellcaster's material, gains tau counters equal to the number of spells on either player's field and either player's graveyard, and as long as it's more than 3 you can win that turn. So basically you can remove 3 to summon a spellcaster from graveyard or hand, usually graveyard, and then obviously just make access code and win. So it's really good, just helps you climb into an OTK. And lastly, the 1 access to code talker. You make this on turn 3 pretty much every game that you win, because I mean it's such a free way to win the game. You end up with a load of monsters summoned in their turn, and then you just link them all off for access code, go for game. So it's really cool. That's it for the extra deck. So this has been my updated Witchcrafter deck profile. I feel it's a lot more competitive than my last one. Hopefully my sound quality hasn't been too bad. I'm currently filming in my hall because my hamster doesn't like it when I have the light on at night, so I don't want to stress him out. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.